If you are a one-to-one, RBT, BT, para, I'm going to show you how to be successful for the first few weeks of school. As I was explaining in my last video, the first 2 weeks is going to be a nightmare. In order for us to really set the tone for the consistency for our learner, we need to try to get every day to be very as close as normal, quick. So to make a long story short, you are going to have a piece of paper and a pen, probably a pencil. And you are going to write when the kid comes, 7:45 arrives. Okay, goes to the locker. But you have to walk to the locker. So 7:45 to, let's say, 7:50 is locker. Then you go from 7:50 to 7 to 8:10 is desk. You are going to start writing the transitions inside the typical classroom all day long. You know why? Because guess what you're going to try to do tomorrow? Your first day of school is going to be your baseline of what potentially the structure of the daily typical day is going to look like. So what you're going to do is that first day, for the first week, you need to do it for the first week. Actually, I would probably do it for the first 2 weeks, because the first week, every day is going to look different. It's A day, B day, C day, D day, E day. He probably has service providers on B day, but guess what? That first week, he's not given service providers. So now the next week, the service provider will probably pick him up on the B day, because now she's getting her schedule all routine structured, and now she could go pull him. You see what I mean? So at least you have a baseline of what that first week it looked like, so that you can piggyback off what happened yesterday. Okay, it took about 5 minutes for this. Okay, the readings, well, yesterday it took 30 minutes, but actually it was 15 minutes for today. You see what I mean? You need to start having a baseline of what the day is going to look like, because guess what? You need to prime our learners throughout their whole day as a proactive measure. So after we go to the locker, okay, we're going to go sit and have it's calendar time, or okay, we're going to go to look at specials. Usually the classroom has a visual schedule, but our learners need more constant reminder besides, oh, look at your schedule. No. They need a reminder, a verbal prompt or a visual prompt or whatever. They need to be primed between transitions, and also primed when a transition is about to end, aka like an activity, like, oh, we're about to be done with this worksheet, and then guess what is another worksheet. So what you're doing is every single time there's a transition or a next activity or whatever, like say it's like arrival, then it's locker, then it's desk, then it's morning routine, then it's probably reading, and then it's probably math, and then it's like a snack, and then it's like you're going to start timing and writing down just so you can be prepared for tomorrow, and you can know how to navigate, and you have a visual of what to expect the whole 6.5 hour day to look like. And like I said, the first 2 weeks is not every day is going to be different. It's not consistent, but at least you have a baseline to carry over what happened yesterday, so you could prime, oh, like, yeah, yesterday he wasn't a fan of math, or like he had problems here, or he had a hard time leaving recess. You see what I mean? You want to be proactive, but also setting not only yourself up, but also setting your learner up, so that you guys are both set up for as close to success as you will get the first 2 weeks of school. And I'm going to be honest, as a BCBA, you probably have a lot of different clients, so you can't be at the first day of school for every single kid. So as the RBT, or the one-to-one that's supporting the child, you have to be proactive and set the days up so that when you do speak with your BCBA, you can let them know, like, hey, this was an issue here, or this was that, or speech is going to pull them on this day. And as a child that has special ed, their weekly schedule is not going to be the same as the typical classroom schedule, especially if they have a lot of service provider hours. Ideally, you're going to want a 15-minute breakdown of the whole entire school day with everything that's going on. But when it comes with the special education weekly calendar, you are going to incorporate the sped times throughout their week, so you have a visual representation of what every day looks like. And also, this is so important for, let's say the RBT is out, or the one-to-one. Now the person that's filling in has a visual and knows, oh, okay, like, oh, break is for 15 minutes. Okay, we got to go here. You're setting the next person up for success to help your learner be successful throughout their navigating their typical school day with this variable of the one-to-one that's typically there, that's absent. I'm going to share the visual schedule that I created for my learner, because I want to point out some important things. I always color code my schedules, especially for like the greens were mandated breaks. Like I knew we were building up his tolerance. At the beginning of the school year, he probably lasts about 5 minutes in the classroom. So from 8:45 for this first hour, our goal was to stay in the classroom, right? Obviously, we'd take breaks as needed into his break room, but at the end of the 9:45, I made sure that he had a 15-minute break because he just worked an hour, right? Break and snack was crucial. And look, if you see Mondays were libraries, and then like on Wednesdays was science, and science on Fridays too. So, and then the grays were service providers, and orange are the free times, like the playtime. So the whole class will go on mass breaks during that time, and they have a snack outside, and then also for recess. So I put them orange because those are like no demands. It's basically free time with the kids outside. After recess, if you see this little break, the orange ones, he automatically had a break because transitions from highly preferred back inside were very difficult. So we needed to have a smooth transition back to his break room so he could calm down, have literally, it was just 5 minutes. And then not only that, but we'd always leave the playground first. So by the time the teacher got 26 other kids in line, getting them in the classroom, getting them putting their stuff in the locker, it already took 5 minutes. So literally by the time his break was over, everybody was sitting down exactly at the same time when he was returning to class. So it was like, yeah, why waste 5 minutes outside in line having him wait and get antsy and then have to deal with a tantrum when we could just immediately after recess have a break, have him calm down, understand his next transition, which is usually writing a demand. You see what I mean? What you're not going to do is go from highly preferred straight to working. You need to have a break. Well, specifically for this learner. So then as you see on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, he has service providers usually around the same time. So on Fridays, he had science, but there was a gap here. So he had no service providers. So having service providers could actually be helpful, especially because it breaks up the work from having the regular classroom work to like working with someone else. So it's like a different provider, but also it's like a new environment. It's a nice transition, especially if they've been in the class for the past hour. You see what I mean? So on Fridays, it would be a longer day, especially for the one-to-one, because having a service provider is kind of like a break in a sense for the RBT, because the RBT is not really the one giving demands. It's actually someone else. So it's like as you're working one-to-one with the learners, you're the one helping and supporting and giving them the demands. And when I say demand, it's like giving them instruction. Okay, we got to do this. We got to do that. So it's like instead of having you tell them what to do all day, it's broken up by service providers. You see what I mean? So on Friday, sometimes it was like a longer day because we'd have to like, okay, he's used to being pulled throughout the week. So now we actually have to be in the classroom longer and he has to do actual classroom work. But if you can see, like I made sure that he had breaks in between like work session. After every service provider, he had a break, because first of all, it was usually recess right after. So like, yeah, you could have a 10-minute break, especially sometimes he'd have if he had a difficult time in a service provider, sometimes he had a tantrum. So like sometimes, depending on how long the tantrum is, like the break would just go straight into recess. And after recess, he had medications, and coming from recess, it was either 50-50. If it'd be highly preferred, he had a really good time. He could have a tantrum coming into getting his meds, or it could be a smooth transition. And then it was straight to lunch. So there's no demands. It's lunchtime. And then usually after lunch, it was quiet time. And then we had specials. And then after specials, like I said, going from specials back to class, no. He needed a break, because especially if it was gym or music, like he needed to break that highly preferred or least preferred to coming back to a calm, neutral space to be able to transition to the next work, which was foundations. And then at the end of the day, after foundations, he had a little break and we pack up and go home. And the green, like I said, there were embedded breaks, but by the end of the school year, he was actually staying in the classroom the whole time. He barely went into his own little break room, because he was able to tolerate and last with his classroom, and he enjoyed being in the classroom. He went from lasting 5 minutes to actually lasting the majority of the day by the end of the school year, being able to tolerate a whole school day.